Okay, so welcome back to this channel. So now in this video I will show you that how we can use Docker with React. So I have already created a video on how to use Docker with Next.js. So I will add link of that video in the description of this video. If you want to watch that, you can also watch that. But in this video we will discuss that how we can use React with Docker. Okay, or you can say that how we can integrate or configure Docker with our React application both for production and then the development. Okay, so for that, first of all you have to go to docker.com and you have to download the Docker on your computer. Okay, so I have already installed Docker. You simply click on this download button and install it for your operating system. Simply install that and you have to open that, and after opening that you can see that this is the Docker interface. I don't have any container right now, don't have any images. You can see that in here it is empty, and also you can see that in here Docker is running in here. Okay, so now, first of all, we have to create our React application, and then we have to create our Docker file, and then we have to handle that. Okay. First of all, after installing that, simply go to your VS Code, and here you can see that this is the empty React application. If I start that, so npm start. Okay, so now let's go back and write our create our Docker file. So that is going to be Docker file. Okay. So you can see that we also get in here Docker icon. So in the Docker file, we can write our whole Docker file configurations. First of all, we have to use in here the Node.js image as base image. Okay, so I will use in here from, and now we have to type in here the image name. So the image name that I want to use is Node. Okay, so now here we have to define the version, and to get the version, I can simply go to my Chrome, and here we have Docker Hub. So you can go to hub.docker.com where you can get all the images. So we are interested in Node, so I will type in here Node, and if I click on this one, this is the first one. This is the official image of Node. So here you can see that supported tags and Dockerfile links. So we have to use the latest one, that is this version 22, and you can see that we have also in here Alpine version. So Alpine version is the lightweight version of Node.js. You can use the Alpine or you can also use without Alpine. That is totally optional. So I will use the Alpine in this project. So I will type in here from Node. I will use version 22, that is dash Alpine. Okay, I can also write in here a comment that use official Node.js 22 Alpine image, Node.js Alpine image as base image. So this is our base image, and next we have to set up here the working directory in the container. So I will define that with work dir. Okay, so work dir, that is going to be /app. Now this app directory is the working directory inside the container. And after defining the working directory, we also have to copy our package.json file, because we have all our dependencies in that and configurations in that. So I will type in here that copy the dependency file to working directory, or also we can type in here copy package.json file to the working directory. So for that I have to use here copy command. So copy package.json to /. Okay, so this is the source and this is the destination. So I am writing in here that simply copy the package.json from the current directory from the local workspace to the directory inside the container. Okay, and I can also put in here static. This means that copy both package.json and package-log.json inside the working directory. And after copying that, we have to install the dependencies that we have in our package.json. Okay, so for that I have to type in here install all dependencies. For that I have to run this npm install. So that will install all the dependencies inside the package.json. And after installing that, we have to simply copy all the files of our project inside the container. So I will type in here copy the content of local source directory to the working directory, or local directory to the working directory. So for that I can type in here simply copy dot space dot. This means that this is the source and this is the destination. So simply copy all files from the source and move that inside the working directory in the container. So after copying that, now we have to run our application. So I will type in here, we can expose the port, or we can directly write in here start the app in development mode, and for that I can run in here cmd command. In that I can type in here npm start, so that will start the application in the development. So cmd npm start, and this is our Docker file configurations. and now we have to run it, and we have to create our docker compose YAML file. And before that, let me show you that how we can run without that. I will type in here docker build dash t, and then I have to type in here the name of the image, that is going to be docker dash react, then dot, and now if I press in here enter, and that will build that. So let's wait. And you can see that in here it has used from docker this node22 alpine as base image, then it has used working app, this app directory as working directory, copy the package.json files, run npm install, copy all the files. And now if I go back to my docker, you can see that in the images I have this image, that is this docker react. Okay, so we have successfully created our image with this docker build command, and now we have to run that. And to run that, I will simply type in here docker run dash it. This means that run this in interactive mode, so we can interact with that. Okay, then we have to define in here the volume, so that is going to be dash v, then that is going to be slash app, which is our volume. Then we have to define here the port, so that is going to be dash p for the port, and for the port we have to map that, so that is going to be port 3000, port 3000. Okay, so we know that by default React run on port 3000, so I will use in here 3000, and you can change this part if you wanted to, like I will show you that in a minute. I can also use in here port 4000 if I wanted to, like this. Okay, and then I have to type in here the image name, so that is going to be docker react, and if I press in here enter, so it will start that. So you can see that the server is started, and if I open that, you can see that we cannot view that on port 3000 because we have mapped that to port 4000. So I will type in here 4000 like this. Now you can see that I can view my application. So in this way you can run that. Now we are using this command to run our docker, but we can define all these commands inside a separate file that is called docker compose file. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So what I will do is clear the terminal, and I will create a new file in here that is going to be docker dash compose .yml file. Okay, so in that we can write our all the configurations that we are adding in here. So first of all, we have to write in our services, because we have two different services. One is going to be for development and one is going to be for production. So first of all, we have to handle the development one, so that is going to be development service. In the same way, we are going to have in here the production service. So I will type in here react dash app dash dev, that this is the service for development. Okay, so react app dev for the development. Now in that we have to define here the build. So for the build we will use the context, that is going to be current context, so I will use in here dot, and then we have to type in here the docker file, so that is going to be our docker file that we have right in here. So this is our docker file, and after that we have to set in the volume. Remember that we have used in here dash v to for the volume. Okay, so I will type in here volumes. So in the volumes I have to define that, so I will put in here dash, then we have to put in here dot slash source, and we have to map that to slash app slash source. Now this source is the working directory in our local machine, and this source is the working directory inside our container. So we are mapping both directory so that we can get live reloading without any delay. In the same way, we have source, and then we have in here the public. We also have to map the public, so if we add any image in our public directory in our local machine, it will immediately map that to the public directory in the container. In the same way, we have our package.json file. So package.json, that is going to be in package.json. Okay, and after that we also have to put in here slash app slash, we don't have to map that. Okay, and we don't have to map our node modules because node modules contains platform specific binaries. Okay, that depends on the environment, like we have different binaries for Mac OS or Windows, so we don't have to map that. So I will leave it as it is, and after the volumes we also have to define here the ports. So I will type in here ports. So for the ports I will use in here, let's say port 4000 colon 3000, so I will map it to port 4000. And then we can also define in here the environment, so environment variables, so environment, and then node underscore env, let's say is equal to development, like this. So we can also define our environment variables in here one by one. And this is our development service. So again, in the services, first of all, we need two services: development service and then the production service. So in the development service, first of all, we have here the build command. So after this build, we have to define the context, that is going to be context dot, this means that the current directory, and then we have to give in here the Docker file, that is this Docker file, and then we have to define here the volumes. So we have to map our volumes so that we get live reloading without any delay. So we have to map our current source with the source directory inside our container. And then the same way we have public directory, then the package.json, and then we don't have to map node modules because again, node modules have different binaries in different environments. So we don't have to map that. And then we have to find here the ports. We have to map that to the port 4000. You can also put in here 3000 if you wanted to. But to show you, I will put in here 4000. And then in environment, we can also define our environment variables like node env is equal to development like this. So now we have to use this docker compose. So I will type in here docker dash compose up. Okay, so this is the command docker compose up, and that is going to be react dash app dash dev, because this is our service. So react app dev, so we have to run that. So if I press here enter, so that will use this docker compose.yml file and get all the steps from here and use this docker file and then start our application. So you can see that define the working app directory, copy our package.json file, running the npm install. Okay, so now it is ready. Okay, so if I open that, you can see that it is not working on port 3000 because we are running that on port 4000 right in here. Okay, so now if I go back to my docker, you can see that in here we have this image docker with react app, and let's delete this one that we have used before. Let's delete this one, and before that we have to stop this container which is this one. So I delete that container, then I will delete this image also. Okay, so now if I go to my container, you can see that this is the container that we have just click on that. So you can see that we have in here our port. If I click on that, you can see that we get in here all the logs. And if I go to the files, and here in the files you can view our app directory. So you can see that this is the app directory. If I click on that, you will see all our code in here: the source directory, package.json, docker file, docker compose.yml, and all the files in here. So this is our working directory, app directory inside the container. Okay, and this is our image. This is docker with react app dev. Okay, this is our image, and this is our container, that is docker with react. Okay, so now this is for the development. And for the production, what we can do is we can create a separate file in here. Let's call it docker file.prod, and we will call it docker file. Oops, we don't have to delete that, so I will call it dockerfile.dev. Okay, so I will use in here dockerfile.dev. So in the prod, we have to write multi-stage docker file. In the first basically stage, we are going to build our project. In the second stage, we have to create our production stage. In that, we have to use Nginx to basically publish our application. So for that, what I will do is I will again copy these two commands. Okay, instead I will copy these commands from here. These are same. So I will use this node22 alpine as base image, and I will call it as build. Okay, so you can see that this is the stage name. So this is our first stage, that is going to be build. In that, we will set the working directory to app directory. We will copy our package.json file. We will install the dependencies. Okay, and then we also have to copy our files. So I will copy that like this, and then we have to run the npm run build command to build our application. So that is going to be run npm run build, because in the package.json we have this build command that will build this application. So in this stage we have to build that. So I will use in here npm run build, and this is our first stage, that is the build stage. And now we have in here the production stage. So now here we have to use Nginx. So if you don't know what is Nginx, so Nginx is a web server that is mostly used in production environments. Nginx is commonly used to serve static files for our React application because it is lightweight and really fast. Okay, also support caching and all that stuff. So we will use Nginx for the production stage. So for that I have to use Nginx image. So I will type in here from Nginx, Nginx, and I will use the alpine version. So I will type in here alpine. Okay, so this is our base image, that is Nginx alpine, And now we have to copy our files from this stage, from the build stage, and we have to copy that inside the Nginx. Okay, so I will type in here copy. First of all, we have to define here the source and then the destination. So the source is dash dash from. You can see that this is syntax, so from is equal to stage. So our stage is this build stage. So we have to copy from build, and our source is going to be /app/build. Okay, and then we have to copy that to the destination. So our destination is going to be /user usr/share/nginx/html. So we have to copy our build folder inside this nginx html folder in order to serve that. Okay, so we have to copy from this build stage. Remember that we have given this build a name in here for this stage, in that we are building our basically app. So from this stage we will copy our build folder and put that in the nginx html folder, and then we have to start the nginx server. So I will type in here cmd. Okay, in that I will type here nginx, that will start the nginx server, and then I will also give here one more option, that is going to be -g. So -g flag is used to set the global configurations of nginx. Okay, so we have to only set one option in here, that is called daemon to off. Okay, so we have to set the global configurations, in that we have to set daemon to off. So daemon off will tell nginx to not run as daemon. Okay, so daemon means that it will not run that in the background. Okay, so this is the command to start our application in production. If I simply save it, and now we have to handle that in our docker YAML file right in here. So for that I can simply copy this build. I have to put that in here, and that is going to be React. Actually I copy this part and I put that in here. So that is going to be React app prod. In that we have to use this build. In that we have to use this build. Context is dot, and Dockerfile is going to be dockerfile.prod. Okay, and then we have to set in here the ports. So the ports, we don't have to set the volume because this is production stage. So I will map it to port 8080, and Nginx uses port 80 like this. Okay, and then in the environment we can also set in here node.env like we have set in here. So I will put that right in here. That is going to be, let's say, production. Okay, and we have to remove this one space from in here, and that is it. So this is going to be our React app prod service, in that we have to simply set these. Now to run that I will simply exit from here. Okay, and I will start in here a command that is going to be docker compose prod. I can also type in here --build to make sure that it builds the application. And if I press in here enter, and let's see what happens. So now it will create. So we have an error that nginx not found. So that is nginx nginx. Okay, so now if I start it again, and now let's see. Okay, so now I think so we have to use in here double quotes like this. And now if I start the again, so now you can see that in here it is working. So now we have to open our application. So I go in the Chrome, and if I reload this page, you can see that it is not working. But if I type in here port 8080, you can see that this is the production build. Okay, and now if I go to my app.js, and if I type here something like amazing app, if I save it, you can see that even if I reload the page, I will not get here anything because it is serving the production build. If I want to get this one, I have to rebuild it again with this command. That will build it again, and then we will serve our production build with Nginx. Okay, so if I go back and if I reload this page, now you can see that I am getting here amazing app. So in this way it is going to work. And now this is for the production, and now let's run that in development mode. So I will stop the container, and if I go to the Docker, you can see that we have this Docker, but we have two images in here. One is for production and one is for the development. And if I go to this production one, just to show you the Nginx, I go to the files, then I have to go in the user share Nginx and then HTML. Let me show you that. Okay, and now if I go here in the user, we have this share, then the Nginx, in that we have HTML. You can see that in that we have our build content right in here. So in this way we will set that. Okay, so let's stop it. Okay, now we have to start that in the development. So I will use here this command, docker compose up react app dash dev. If I press in here enter, and now it will start my application in development. Okay, and also I can change the port. If I type in here port 3000 like this, and now I can start my application again. Okay, so now if I open that, it will be here. If I go here, remove this one, save it, now you can see that our live reloading is working. If I type in here uh, amazing app, save it, now the app is back. I can also type in here like docker with react app, and you can see that our live reloading is working. In development and the production, we have to generate the build again. So in this way we can set up our docker with react. I hope that you understand. And also you can create one more file in here that is called dockerignore. So in that we can define all the files that we don't want to add in our container. Like you can type in here that if you don't want to push any file, like I can type in here that I don't want to push in here docker file.dev, it will not push that or add that in the container. So you can use this docker ignore like .gitignore to basically prevent your files going inside the container. So I hope that you understand. If you have any question, you can post in the comment section. I will try my best to respond there. So that's it for this video. I will see you in some other video.